Hello, I hope you're doing well. So last week I said to seclude, and this week I am saying don't isolate yourself and share your story. So what's that all about? It's actually kind of funny when you listen to teachers and they say opposite things at different times, and really there's different things meant for different times and different people. But here's why I'm saying this. I just finished watching a really, really sweet video that came from a training program, and the teacher wanted to help people get over their fears. I'm not sure if he knew where this was going to take people by doing this, and this he asked anybody if they wanted to get over their fear of public speaking. That's one of the biggest fears that people have. And this one woman raised her hand and said yes. So he slowly walked her up onto the stage in a very, very beautiful, gentle way. And he just took her through one step at a time. Eventually, he got her singing on stage. It was really, really cute. So she got really comfortable up there. He was chit-chatting with her, having her talk about her life a little bit, and then he sat down in the audience and left her alone on the stage. And she was fine. She was still up there holding the mic, speaking to people. He continued to ask her questions about her life and some of the things that she loves to do. And it's art. And he starts asking, what is it about art? And she says, well, it's the only thing that keeps me from killing myself. Literally, it's the only thing that saves her from her anxiety and her depression. And then he asked her more about what she likes about art. And she said it's like telling a story, and it's like connecting with all the people around. And he kind of caught her in that, to say that she was probably isolating herself and feeling awful. But there she was sharing her story, and that was helping everyone else around her grow and connect. And it was a beautiful, beautiful, deep experience for everyone there. Often when we're going through struggles, we feel like it's just us. And maybe sometimes we don't have the right people around who can find a way to help us, to figure out how to connect with that or address that or communicate that a little bit better. And so we isolate ourselves more and more. There's also this judgment in our world that we have to always be joyful when we're outward, that we can't bring pain out there in the public. And her story, it really touched me, and the idea of sharing your story. And you guys always see me come on here, and you're so excited with all of my joy, and it makes an impression. And that joy is my natural state. I would say it's where I am most of the time, as long as I'm designing my life to be supportive, and surrounding myself with, good people and supportive people. And, but I'm not always joyful. I think at one point I will be. But I still hit struggles, and I just don't turn this thing on when I'm in that state. Yesterday I was walking on the beach, and at first I was in the main town out here, and there were a lot of people on the beach, and I was really upset by some things that were happening, and I really just wanted to cry. And I was looking at this crowded beach, realizing that you couldn't be in your true emotion or your true essence in public. Like it's something you just have to save people from, or hide from. And I realized I just went to, a quiet beach, my beach, where there's barely anyone else walking. And then, I could be whatever expression I wanted to be. But that was an interesting thing to note and something to think about, because we also judge different emotions as good or bad. Well, I wanted to share another story also about going back to the idea of isolating and sharing your story and everything. And just to say when isolation, when seclusion is good and when not so good. And I love seclusion a lot, a lot, a lot, a lot, a lot. And I love living in a quiet place. And I love being around people and sharing that joy. And I was going through a rough time maybe 10 years ago or so. But I was in an abusive marriage, and there were a lot of challenges with my family, also with the person that I married, and some of my family members were not talking to me, including my mother, and that was very hurtful. Um, and then here I was in this relationship that she wasn't talking to me about and just getting challenged by it. I did have the health challenges at that point too, but that wasn't bothering me so much at that point. But there were quite a few things going on. Financially, things were a struggle. And I went up to the spiritual community, that I used to live at, but this was before I lived there. And I had remembered as I drove onto the property, there I was just crying, thinking there were no avenues, no pathways, like nothing great in my life. My work was great though, all the yoga and fitness stuff that I was doing. I did really love that. Um, but you need people in your life, you need love in your life. And that I wasn't feeling so much in that moment because I was just feeling so awful in response to the challenges that were happening. And so there I am driving onto the property of the community, just crying, 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 7 hours on the road. I drive on the property, and then I remember the light and joy that comes from that place, and how I had really wanted to spend a lot of time there, 6 months to a year, but I held off because of being married, and that wasn't going to work within the relationship. And so, of course, I got there and remembered that. And I was speaking to my spiritual advisor, and I told her that I think all of that was happening because I wasn't loving God. I wasn't loving myself. And so I said, I need to lock myself in a room until I learn to love God more. She didn't respond to that statement. Instead, she just said to me, "Do you like Thai food?" And I said, "Yeah." And then she says, "What's your favorite meal?" And I start explaining my favorite meal, and all of a sudden, this joy is returning to me. And well, what was that about? That was isolating myself. Was a little depressing, like putting this pressure on yourself, like beating out of yourself with a stick. What's wrong? You can do it that way. Or you can also turn on the light and find the joy in life and share your joy with others. And one thing that I love about my book, Healing Happens, is that these are real stories of people who've gone through struggles. Now, all of these people, in one form or another, it came out on a different side in terms of things really turning around for them. One of the stories, I believe, talks just about things turning around because of finding happiness, because of just finding joy at the end of life that wasn't there before, but they were still going to die. But just to say that I was thinking about people that I know right now who are in struggle, and it almost looks like the struggle is getting worse, at least on the physical sense, not even better. But really what I thought about them is that they are some of the greatest survivors because they're surviving while in struggle. They're surviving while in struggle. Every day they're continuing to survive. They're continuing to be alive. And for some of them, what I see is their spirit thriving, even while their body is just surviving. And of course, that spirit is probably the more inspiring part for most people and for themselves. And so I wanted to be real too with me again, because of being very sad in response to something happening, and even having this extreme anxiety run through me. I wanted to be honest because you guys see me as joyful, and there is a lot of joy, even at moments where there's the anxiety kind of taking over me. It's very easy for me to go into joy also because there's so much to appreciate about my life. But we think when anxiety is coming that we need to stop it. And I have so many techniques that can stop it. And, it all stops temporarily, and then a while later, the anxiety comes again. And, I've experienced this a couple other times, maybe 2 or 3 other times in life. And so I know overall all of that passes. But in those times of challenge, as your system is working it out, that can show up. But what I realized the most helpful thing has been going back to what I was saying about our judgment about emotions, is not having judgment about the anxiety. And when I push against it, when I resist against it, that's when the anxiety gets greater. It's kind of like having fear of fear. It just makes it a lot worse. And then literally when I just relax and then just let it be, the anxiety just dissolves. It's very, very fascinating patterns. But I wanted to share all this, and I wanted to commend anyone who is going through struggles to say that you're really actually surviving a lot, and you're probably thriving. And you know what, I'll add this. I've said this before, and you can read it in my blog called The Dark Night of the Soul. But basically, what also happens with ourselves, and this gal who's going through the anxiety and depression, her desire is to shed light on other people. It was a beautiful, beautiful desire. It's to connect. It's to help other people. And there she is feeling this depression and anxiety, but of course she lights up when she thinks about what she wants to share with others. And one of the things to understand about ourselves is that we operate on different layers. So there's, you could say, our emotional body, our physical body, our mental body, our soul body. And our soul, I like to say, is always in its purest state. Whether or not we see it fully, it's always in that state. And our soul creates this communication to say to the mind or the emotions, it's time to get over something. We no longer need this in our vibration. And yet, there's some of it still lingering, while a part of us might be vibrating here and a part of us is vibrating here. And the pain, I think, comes from noticing the difference. Where at one point everything was vibrating together, which was fine. So all of those emotions, those characteristics, whatever, it existed within us. But then there's a part that says that no longer, but it still sees it in there. And feeling that difference is painful. And once that just sort of falls away, then everything starts vibrating at the same place. And all of a sudden, you're feeling better. But if you are feeling that anxiety or depression, you can think about what it is specifically that you're upset about. Or, are you putting your own self down? And instead of thinking, oh my gosh, I'm putting myself down, you can think, oh my gosh, I don't want to be putting myself down anymore. I don't want to live in that state. I want to acknowledge myself more, to love myself more, to be more brave, to be more courageous, to be more fair, whatever it might be. And maybe you're getting anxiety about other people, not yourself, because you're seeing the potential of other people to shift. The anxiety going through me, I don't think it's just mine. I'll just be honest, but I think I catch on to what's happening for others, because there's also moments where if I just take it out of me and give it back to the other, it's gone. And I think sometimes we grab onto what's happening for others because of our desire to help heal. That's the funny journey of an empath. Why they feel the pain of others is almost like they're an angel sent down who can notice and acknowledge that to help others. There's another perk for you if you're feeling pain, is just to know that you're helping the world heal. And it's not just about you. And if it really, really was just about you, it's not. Because they're all connected and we impact everyone. That was a lot for tonight. My biggest thing I want to say is share your story. You don't need to isolate yourself. You don't need to feel like you're the only person going through this, or like nobody is out there to support and to love you. I see it time and time again when I'm in training programs, how much people want to help others, want to support them, want to love them. That space is there. If you're unsure, then contact me or start sharing your story underneath this post here, and we'll all send you love. Many, many blessings. So much love to you. Bye-bye.